Welcome back. We are now in the second half of 2025, and the market is moving to the upside. We're at new all-time record highs with Bitcoin. Many other cryptos are approaching their all-time record highs, and there is a lot of excitement in the market. But I keep getting asked, Cryptoviser, what are actionable cryptos or stocks that we can buy at this point in the market? When do we enter? When do we exit? Well, on this channel, what we try to do is provide data about what is going on in the market, my analysis, my opinions, and then hopefully you guys can formulate your own strategies, thesis, opinions, and especially if you're not just watching one video. If you're coming here watching one video and saying Cryptoviser, you're not giving it, well, that's not what this channel is about. This channel is about the macro view of the markets. While, yes, we talk about individual cryptos and stocks on this channel, a lot of it is for examples of where to enter, where to exit. And if you are missing the point of these videos, well, maybe you got to watch again, or maybe this is not the channel for you. But most of you guys do get it. And many of you were with us in the bear market. A lot of people were watching the Bitcoin mining companies, as were we in the bear market. We saw companies during 2023 going bankrupt. And these companies were outperforming most of the other stocks and cryptos that did not have any issues, did not have any hiccups or any other things going on. And so there's a lot of money to be made in these markets if you're looking for the signals and you're understanding the analyses of these markets. And so what we're going to be doing in today's video is exploring all that. I'm going to give you individual stocks and cryptos that are doing amazing things right now, that have huge pipelines for growth, and are highly, highly, highly undervalued. Some of these we've talked about, some of them we haven't on this channel. But we're gonna be starting the video right here, and make sure you guys don't forget to hit subscribe. That way you never miss a new video. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Sometimes we do deep dives into individual cryptos, and sometimes we talk about the macro market conditions and where to look to potentially invest and make money, because that's what we do on this channel. How do we 10x our portfolios? And if you guys want to 10x your portfolio, make sure you give the video a free thumbs up. PNC Bank partners with Coinbase to launch Bitcoin and crypto services. Now, while a lot of the Bitcoin maximalists and crypto maximalists will say this is like the most bullish news ever, yes, it is very bullish, yet it is amazing that we have now banks joining the party. But here's the deal. This is going to take quite a bit of time for these banks to actually implement these technologies, then educate their customers about this technology, and then actually see the move from people's traditional finances into Bitcoin and crypto. Now, there's many people who already are into Bitcoin and crypto and don't really care, don't need all that info, but they're like getting these banks to get people to use their services versus Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, etc. It's going to be, I think, very difficult, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. And look at who they're partnering with to do it. Coinbase, which, by the way, many years ago we talked about Coinbase potentially becoming a bank, but they don't need to become a bank because they are a new type of bank. And now the banks are crawling to Coinbase saying, please, Coinbase, work with us, work with us. Now Coinbase holds all the cards. And so if you think about that, right, if you just take these two companies, PNC Bank and Coinbase, which one do you invest in? The bank, which has to tap into Coinbase for these Bitcoin and crypto services, or Coinbase? Clearly, Coinbase. And it's not just PNC Bank. JP Morgan, the crypto haters of the banking world, are exploring crypto-backed loans amid the stablecoin push. Now, according to the Financial Times, they reported that JP Morgan may start lending directly against Bitcoin assets like Bitcoin and Ether. They reported this may happen by next year, though the plans are subject to change. Yeah, obviously, JP Morgan is going to do this. JP Morgan loves debt. They don't care how the debt is backed, whether it's by Bitcoin or whether it's by your home or other assets that you have. They just like debt because that's how they make money. They don't make money on anything else. You put your money in the JP Morgan, they don't really make money on you putting the money in the bank. They make money on loaning that money out and then giving you 0.001% on whatever your deposit actually was. And so this is not surprising that we're seeing this going on. JP Morgan's not talking about custody in crypto. They've been very clear. They don't even want to do that. They'll let you buy crypto, but they don't want to custody your crypto, because think about the banking model. The banking model is you put your money in, it's already gone by the time it's deposited electronically on your account, it's already been loaned out, right? So these banks, they don't want to custody your crypto. They don't want to have to hold your crypto and put all the money into that. They want to extract money from you. Very different. Old school finance, new school finance is Coinbase. Meanwhile, Coinbase is launching perpetual futures in the United States. Now, this has been long awaited. And if you guys were not aware, basically perpetual futures are derivatives, right? So basically, you can trade on Bitcoin or Ether currently with leverage without actually holding the actual Bitcoin. It's kind of like paper trading. But here's the deal. This is very risky. I'm not saying trading it is risky, but them launching perpetual futures is risky. And I've warned about this since the last cycle, because what was FTX doing to the cryptos like Cardano, Litecoin, Internet Computer Protocol, all their competing coins? And even Bitcoin, by the way, they were definitely trading perpetual futures on Bitcoin. What was FTX doing? They were not, by the way, FTX listed pretty much every crypto that you can imagine. But these cryptos specifically that I'm talking about, Litecoin, Cardano, Internet Computer Protocol, for example, I think there were some others like Stellar as well. But these coins were direct competition to what FTX was doing, right, with Solana and all those kind of things, but also for the future, because they would look at, for instance, Internet Computer, which wanted to be like a world compute platform. AI, I don't even think was in the picture at that point, because it just generally wasn't in the mainstream narrative, but now it is. But either way, that was a direct threat to what FTX wanted to create and the stronghold they had on the market. And so what did they do? They didn't launch Internet Computer Coins spot, right? Actually buying Internet Computer on their platform. They launched perpetual futures. So basically they were paper trading Internet Computer Coins without actually touching the actual coin itself. And so you may say, well, how does that impact the actual Internet Computer crypto? Well, the issue is, once derivatives are introduced into the market, the derivative is supposed to derive its value from the underlying asset, right? That's why it's called a derivative. But what happens in the markets, because the speculators are in the derivative market, the spot market, looks at those derivatives, the futures, the options, the perpetual futures as well, and they say, why are so many people betting against Internet Computer? Or why are so many people betting for Internet Computer? And then it can cause fear in the market, right? So what happened? Internet Computer launched, and then it went up to $800, and then it came down. Everybody was excited about it, but then the market makers were looking at the shorting that was going on in the perpetual futures, and we're like, what is going on here? And by the way, this is just my opinion and analysis of the events. I don't know that this occurred for sure, but based on what I'm saying, if you apply this to Cardano and then also apply it to Litecoin, all the coins that FTX was perpetual futuring but not holding in spot, it was the same thing. Litecoin didn't hit its all-time record high in the previous cycle. I believe it's due to the perpetual future fake trading from FTX. While Cardano did go 100x, which is, I mean, you can't really complain about that, right? I mean, even though I am not a Cardano fan right now, guys, Cardano did perform. And at the end of the day, in the last cycle, regardless of how you felt about Cardano, Charles, Cardano Foundation, or whatever, you could have left in profit at any point, because we started at 3 cents and we went all the way up to $3.10. So anywhere from $1 to $3, you could have taken money out and you would have been in the green, unless you bought the all-time record high at $3, which I don't know anybody on my channel bought at $3. I think everyone was like hoping that they would sell at $3. But anyway, everybody still made money there. But the potential, I think, was stifled, right? Because Cardano did have a lot more than it has now, right? In terms of the narrative, in terms of the pace in the market, where they are, right? They always talk about the tortoise and the hare. Well, they're the tortoise, yes, but the tortoise was further ahead a few years ago than it is today. And so when you take that all into context, it is my belief that Cardano should have hit $5 or $10 in the previous cycle. But the reason it didn't was because they were betting against it. And how did this get confirmed? This was confirmed basically by Sam himself, because before the FTX collapse, about 3 or 4 weeks before, it was like in October, September, October timeframe, I was telling my viewers, like, you may want to like reconsider your portfolio, maybe get out of some positions and have cash on the sidelines because it looks like the market may be droppings at some point, right? People were telling me, no, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. Meanwhile, during that time, the Cardano ecosystem was literally, like quite literally begging Sam Bankman on social media, please, Sam, list Cardano, list Cardano, list Cardano. The Cardano community didn't even see that FTX was manipulating the Cardano coin. They were begging him to list it. I'm like, wait, why are they begging him to list it? At the end, we're already in a bear market, like in the depths of the bear market, and they want Sam Bankman and FTX to list Cardano. Why didn't they list it before, right? There was no reason that they didn't list it, especially because they had perpetual futures listed. Well, good thing the Cardano community didn't convince him to list it because a few weeks later, FTX collapsed, right? But it was very clear that, he was like, well, it's very hard to implement Cardano onto our exchange. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense because all the other exchanges have it implemented. And by the way, FTX at that point was supposedly the best and largest and most wealthy exchange in the world. So you're telling me they couldn't list Cardano? They couldn't list Coinbase listed Internet Computer when it launched. No, Coinbase never lists coins when they launched in the previous cycle. They would wait a little bit. Internet Computer was one of the only coins they launched. That's why I was like, whoa, like we need to look at Internet Computer. But then as it went up to $800, I was like, guys, hold up. Anyway, so this is a long tangent about perpetual futures. But the bottom line is perpetual futures, while it is expanding the whole ecosystem, this could indicate further that we are at the top of the market, right? So for the first time, U.S. traders can now access perpetual futures via Coinbase Financial Markets. The CFTC regulated contracts have no monthly expirations and offer up to 10x leverage. Here's the deal. Do I plan to use these products? Probably at some point, yes. It's kind of like when you see that we are definitely at the tippy top of the market and we're starting to rotate, and we'll know, like I do think generally we're at the top of the market, but the tippy top, right? Euphoric, crazy highs, right? We will know when we have to start kind of going in the other direction, right? And we'll have time because the bear market, we're from the top of the market to the bottom of the bear market, it's going to be like a year, right? Or something like that. So it's going to be an extended period of time. So we will have time to do that. I think that like betting in perpetuals with leverage at this point is very risky because the market can go up substantially or it can go down substantially. We're kind of like in this midpoint where we don't know what to do and the market doesn't know what to do. But we do actually know what to do on this channel. And that's why we're going to be taking a deep dive into the Bitcoin mining space. Now, guys, like I said, during the bear market, if you were with my channel, there's a lot of people who made a lot of money. I mean, probably even more money than I made in these trades, trading the Bitcoin mining companies in the bear market. Now we are towards the end stages of the bull market. And a lot of people are focusing on the big Bitcoin mining companies. But as I've explained, when everybody's focused on this and the prices are surging, we need to look at what is not surging and where the focus is not on. And so what we've actually seen, according to this article, it says Bitcoin miner sales surged to the highest levels since April. Again, now we're reporting this at the end of July 2025. According to new data from CryptoQuant, Bitcoin miner selling has surged sharply on July 15th, the same day Bitcoin reached its latest peak. Daily inflows to exchanges jumped 19,000 Bitcoin to 81,000 Bitcoin, a clear sign that major holders, including miners and whales, took advantage of high prices to offload assets. Notably, miner outflows spiked to 16,000 Bitcoin, the highest daily level since April, and nearly all of it was sent directly to exchanges. Now, as I theorized, it is my belief that these Bitcoin mining companies, if they need to shore up cash, they're selling their Bitcoin. Previously, they were selling it on the open market, it seems. Now, it seems that they're doing it through private sales. So for instance, Michael Saylor wants to buy Bitcoin, or these other Bitcoin treasury companies want to buy Bitcoin. They say to the miner, like, hey, if you're going to sell Bitcoin, we're about to buy some. So, they probably have some type of arrangement. I don't know what it is, But I'm guessing that's what kind of the situation is. But this is also a good indicator that the Bitcoin mining companies are trying to be resolute, because in the previous cycle, all the Bitcoin mining companies, they were not selling their Bitcoin at the top of the market. They were pre-ordering Bitcoin mining machines at the top of the market. They were prepaying for the Bitcoin mining machines at the top of the market. These Bitcoin mining machines weren't delivered until a year later at the depths of the bear market. Energy prices were higher. It was a complete and utter failure. And I question, like, how do these Bitcoin mining companies not actually realize that we're going to go in a bear market and they need to prepare for it? It seems like they're now doing that. But this is not the only way to prepare for a bear market, just selling Bitcoin. Because if you're just doing Bitcoin mining, you're not going to survive a bear market, potentially. But then we get to Bitfarms. And I've covered Bitfarms extensively on this channel. And the Bitcoin mining ecosystem, like the Bitcoin mining bulls, they don't think about Bitfarms for whatever reason. They're looking at these big multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin mining companies that are US-based and are really just part of a narrative being driven, right? But when we look at the actual data, when we look at the actual performance of these companies, they're either on par, meaning their stock valuation is where it should be, they're undervalued, or they're overvalued. When you want to buy, you're looking for undervalued. When you want to sell, you're looking for overvalued or at par. We are now seeing Bitfarms getting buy ratings from Jones Trading, a financial firm. They announced this at the end of July 2025, and they set a price target for Bitfarms of $2. Now, again, this is the first major buy target that we've seen. I think $2 is going to be easy. We're going to be kind of going in depth into Bitfarms at this point. And you can see, based on their charts, the Wall Street analysts forecast a high of $4.50, an average of $3.30, a low of $2. These are for price targets. And I want you guys to remember, Bitfarms owns quite a bit of Bitcoin already, right? Currently, when I'm recording this video, Bitfarms is worth about 940 Canadian dollars. So 950, basically almost $1 billion Canadian dollars. So let's do the conversion, CAD to USD. So if we do 1 billion, it's about $730 million valuation, right? This is one of the most undervalued in terms of market cap that we've seen. But again, the price also just went up based on an announcement that we're going to be covering. And you can see we've covered this over the last 6 months. And this is why when people say, Cryptoviser, you're not giving us any signals on this channel. It's like, what? Like, this whole channel is about signals. But I want you to create your own investment thesis. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm just giving you my analysis and opinions. I could be wrong. So we've talked about Bitfarms, and I showed you guys like a few months ago, Bitfarms hit 70 cents twice. Now we're seeing higher lows and higher highs. What do higher lows and higher highs indicate? Bullish sentiment. It doesn't mean the market's going higher. It just means it's a bullish signal from the charts. But why are these bullish signals coming? Well, they own a lot of Bitcoin. First of all, they have 1,100 Bitcoin, so $139 million at current prices. Keep in mind, they do sell some as they need to, which is also a good sign. They're not just hoarding and going into debt. They're staying above water. But also, we just heard that they are now doing a stock buyback, which is pretty amazing. Now, I pulled up some of this other stuff, which we're going to go over in a second. But before we go there, I want to show you this. So this is from July 22nd of 2025. Bitfarms, again, a $1 stock right now, okay? Bitfarms, a global energy and compute infrastructure company, announced the board of directors approved effective immediately the commencement of a corporate share buyback program. Under the program, the company is authorized to purchase up to 50 million shares of its common stock, representing up to 10% of the public float of about 500 million shares. During the period end of July of 2025 to end of July 2026. The CEO of the company, Ben, said, "We believe Bitfarms shares are currently undervalued because our Bitcoin business is underappreciated by the market, with little to no value being associated with our HPC or high performance compute potential. This program demonstrates our confidence in Bitfarms' business, our management team, and most importantly, the high-performance computing data center growth strategy. We strongly believe our unique and highly desirable energy portfolio in Pennsylvania will drive long-term, sustainable growth that is financeable and enables management to leverage its balance sheet strength to drive shareholder value with its buyback program while simultaneously pursuing growth opportunities in high-performance compute and AI to best capitalize on our substantial U.S. energy pipeline. And so this stock buyback is occurring when most companies that we're seeing getting into the Bitcoin game, right? These Bitcoin treasury companies, they're actually selling shares on the market. We've even seen the big Bitcoin miners, like I think it was Marathon Digital, did a stock ATM raise to then go buy more Bitcoin. And so they're doing this at the top of the market, and Bitfarms is kind of doing the opposite. They're saying, no, we're going to buy our stock back right now to kind of enhance, I guess, the price movement, because Bitfarms has a lot going on. And this is why I think that we're starting to see the buy ratings come in. While everybody's focused on all of these other companies like Marathon and Cypher Mining and Bit Digital transferring to Ethereum, Bitfarms is focused on HPC and AI, which is huge because in a bear market, when the Bitcoin mining industry is not doing well, they can pivot and still make more money in the AI sector and grow in the AI sector with data centers. And if you guys don't believe what I'm saying, look at their data, look at their SEC filings, and then go compare it to other basic AI companies. And by the way, be careful using these AI chatbots like ChatGPT or Grok, because I've used them to kind of analyze these Bitcoin mining companies, and sometimes they're accurate, but most of the time, their info's all over the place, and they're not giving the accurate data. That's why I'm telling you guys to you yourself go into the SEC filings and read them. But you can see the total energy pipeline for Bitfarms as of May of 2025 is 1.8 gigawatts, which is about 80% based in the US. There's other Bitcoin mining companies that are bigger than this, valued in multiple billions of dollars, and they have basically no AI pipeline or hyper performance compute pipeline at all. And so there's no ability to pivot. And if they're only in Bitcoin mining, that may be their business and that may be okay, right? But in a bear market, what is that going to do? Bitfarms and some of the other companies that are AI focused or becoming more AI focused, so they have a diverse portfolio of business, I think they're going to do really well, and the AI narrative is starting to pick up again, right? This is where we have to look at the undervalued assets and say, like, why are they undervalued? Do they have good fundamentals? And guys, in April or May of 2025, just a few months ago, they also talked about, what they're doing with the, I think it was Stronghold acquisition, where they were able to earn a lot of Bitcoin. They have 20 exahashes operational, right, on the Bitcoin network. There's Bitcoin mining companies with higher valuations with lower exahash hash rate. So that means that they don't have as much mining power in the network as Bitfarms. And so a lot of people are really like not looking at Bitfarms. People are saying this is bearish. Riot Platforms, another Bitcoin mining company that purchased about 20% of Bitfarms last year, and they tried to purchase Bitfarms for $2.30 a share. Bitfarms declined. They went into a battle back and forth, and now Riot Platforms is slowly reducing their holdings in Bitfarms. Now, some people will look at this as negative, saying, "Well, Riot Platforms is pulling out of Bitfarms," but at the end of the day, they kind of inserted themselves into Bitfarms and just caused Bitfarms a lot of headache and money. And I don't really know that they provided any value over the last year to Bitfarms, because if they're exiting their position, that means that there is no way they are buying Bitfarms. And it also tells me that Bitfarms is that confident that they don't even care that Riot is selling. Now, Riot is selling very slowly, and so I don't think Riot is trying to screw Bitfarms, but this may also be part of the reason that Bitfarms is doing a stock buyback to kind of offset some of those sales. Because guys, I mean, I don't know how much clearer it needs to be that high performance compute AI in a bear market, that's where the money's going to be at. And there's a lot of people not seeing that, and they're focused on the big Bitcoin mining companies, Marathon Digital, right, which is only Bitcoin mining. I don't even think they have any AI or very low AI compute. But look at their chart, right? They're almost $7 billion, and their hash rate is not that much higher than Marathon Digital hash rate, June 2025. That result may not be out yet, but it is. So their hash rate is 57 exahashes per second, right? Marathon Digital. Bitfarms is basically 20 exahashes per second. So Marathon Digital is 3 times the hash rate of Bitfarms, but it's also basically 7 or 8 or 9 times the valuation of Bitfarms. I mean, there's clear disconnect in the valuation. Either Marathon Digital is highly overvalued, which is possible, or Bitfarms is highly undervalued, which is also possible, or a combination of the two. But as we've seen, right, the price had went from 70 cents all the way up to where we are today at $1.27, 86% in just a few months. How many of you purchased at that level? How many of you purchased since that level? And how many of you are watching this video and saying, wow, I got to purchase this now? Now, I'm not saying it's a bad time to purchase it, but think about it, right? The stock has already gone up 86%. But by the way, the buy ratings on this are showing potential $2, $3, $4, $5 prices. I think it could even potentially go higher if the AI narrative lines up with the bull market for this, or a rally for this stock. But yeah, I would definitely look at the Bitcoin mining companies. Look at the ones that are focused on HPC, high performance compute, and or AI. And I would definitely look into Bitfarms. Look at these are their SEC filings right on their website, news and events and press releases. And you can read through all of the data of all of these companies. It's not just Bitfarms. Hive Digital accelerates their AI pivot with a $100 million HPC expansion, high performance compute. And by the way, Hive Digital, they just bought, I think, a facility from Bitfarms in Paraguay, which Bitfarms wanted to offload. Bitfarms is really trying to increase their presence in the United States. And that is very, very bullish for the company and for the stock. So pay attention to these things, guys, because I don't know how much more actionable they can be, right? People at 70 cents, they don't want to buy Bitfarms because they're like, well, Cryptoviser, this is a shit stock. It's not doing anything. Well, I mean, you could have already been up 86% in this stock, and it's probably going much, much higher, right? Because there's a thesis that Bitfarms is a higher valuation than some of the big Bitcoin mining companies like Riot. Like Riot Platforms bought 20% of Bitfarms to then they were trying to acquire the company or force an acquisition. Meanwhile, Riot Platforms, they're not even focused on high performance compute at all. At all. Let's take a look. Riot Platforms, HPC, GW's gigawatts. So let's see. They have a facility that they plan to get to 1 gigawatt. They have another 1.7 gigawatt pipeline. But this is all pipeline, right? Pipeline means that they don't have it just yet, that they're building towards it. And so there's potential here that, Riot Platforms is behind Bitfarms from a HPC and AI rollout. And again, Riot Platforms, $5 billion. And what is Riot Platforms hash rate? I'll say June 2025. Let's see if that pops up. 29 exahashes per second, right? So it says in June, Riot Platforms deployed a hash rate. Well, that says different here on the Riot Platforms website. Let's see. Deployed hash rate, 35 exahashes. So an operational average is about 30. So we'll just say 35, right? That's less than double what Bitfarms is. And meanwhile, Bitfarms valuation is, oh man, what is the math on that? We said about $750 million, something like that. Yeah, $730 million, and we're gonna divide that into 5 billion. So 5 divided by zero point 0.7. What? Oh, I don't know what is going on. 5 divided by 0.73. So it's almost 7 times. Riot Platforms is almost 7 times the valuation of Bitfarms, but it has less than double the hash rate. It basically has the same or less current HPC and AI capabilities than Bitfarms. Well, then why is Bitfarms a lower valuation? It's a good question, Guy, but pretty much all the ratings that I'm seeing are showing buy and showing $4 or $5 price targets. And by the way, nobody's talking about it, right? The Bitcoin mining maximalists, they're focused on Marathon and Cypher and all these companies that are just getting pumped and then dumped, right, by the insiders. Meanwhile, and by the way, talking trash about Bitfarms, and meanwhile, that's the signal. That is the signal to buy. When people are bearish, you become bullish. When people are bullish, you become bearish. And that's what we're seeing, right? Some of these valuations are based on nothing but a puff of air. Why is Bitfarms under $1 billion? And all these other companies are in the multiple billions of dollars of valuation. And they're not even strategically aligned or rolling out their AI and HPC capabilities to that level. Something to keep an eye on. But again, there's going to be people say, Cryptoviser, you're not telling us what to do. It's like, no, correct. You have to figure that out, right? I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm definitely not I don't even know who you are, right? I appreciate all of our viewers here, but I don't even know who you are. So you got to utilize all the tools at your disposal and learn about these things, and then research and read the SEC filings. And you may not understand what that it all means at the time, but as time goes on, you'll learn. And that is the point of everything that we're talking about, is learning and exploring and figuring out, where do I invest? Is every trade going to be a good trade? Probably not. And that brings us to what's going on in the rest of the market, because guys, Bitcoin, like I said, think that we're at the top. And we're now seeing SpaceX moving 1,300 Bitcoin for the first time in 3 years, where their previous dollar balance was about 37 million, and now they're at 152 million dollars. And so there is a potential that SpaceX is preparing for an IPO or another round of investors or something like that. And there is a potential that they're selling their coins. Is that bullish, bearish? I don't know. Elon, I think, generally is a crypto bull, but they may be doing some other things that may not align with them owning the Bitcoin, or maybe they're doing some other stuff with the Bitcoin. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that all plans out. And by the way, we're also hearing gold maximalist Peter Schiff says Ether is back near the upper end of its trading range again. If you own any, this is a great time to sell. As much as it pains me to say, selling Ether and buying Bitcoin with the proceeds is a better trade than holding Ether. I mean, if there was ever a counter indicator besides Jim Cramer, it's probably Peter Schiff. He is a Bitcoin maximalist. And here's the deal. A lot of people have been orange pilled, they call it, right? They become Bitcoin maximalists, even whether they want to admit it or not. It's the most widely understood, I think, and known crypto. And so there's a lot of people who just will be focusing on Bitcoin. But as I've explained, right, Wall Street is moving on. Like, the Bitcoin trade is over. These trades don't last forever. It's the same thing. Like, if you've been following any YouTubers or other influencers on social media who buy like Tesla or Apple, it's like they'll be talking about it for 3 years, and then the price will go up for like 2 weeks, and then it just goes down after that for another 2-3 years. It's like it's so annoying, but it tells you about the cycle, right? And the cycle right now, I think we're still have the potential to go much higher in Bitcoin, but I think the Bitcoin trade is over. Like most of the people who watch this videos, I think you guys are kind of have moved on from Bitcoin for right now because we see what's happening. Wall Street is focusing, and this is what we've covered in the whole video, right? I mean, Wall Street is focusing on Bitcoin right now and crypto Bitcoin backed loans and all of this, right? But this is just extraction of value from the ecosystem, right? And this is going to take time to get implemented. And so I don't think the Bitcoin trade is continuing its growth, or it's at the end stages of the bull rally. And when you hear people who are not even into Bitcoin saying, no, don't buy Ether, buy only Bitcoin, that's like a counter trade. It's like if Jim Cramer went on and said, trade all your Ether for Bitcoin. No, Jim Cramer, I'm not doing what you're saying to do. I'm going to do the opposite, in fact. So, yeah, I do think that Ether is the play right now. Kathy Wood sells Coinbase, Roblox shares for Tom Lee's Ethereum firm. So this is bullish ETH. Some people are trying to say it's bearish Coinbase or bearish Bitcoin, but I don't necessarily agree. I mean, Kathy Wood, her ARK Invest ETFs, they're constantly buying and selling. They take profits. One of the only ETFs that are constantly taking profits out of the market. There is something to say about following these trades directly or investing in these funds, but they do take profits. So it's something to keep in mind. You can see here, ARK Invest bought Bitmine Emergent Technologies, ARK-K, and also ARK-W, two of the ETFs. And then they sold Roblox and Coinbase. And then you can see here in the ARK-W fund, they bought Bitminer Emergent Technologies, that's Tom Lee's, the Ethereum company. They bought DoorDash, interesting, and also AMD and Airbnb, also interesting. And then they sold Robinhood, Coinbase, and Roblox. And so again, this could be an indicator, number one, maybe to rotate, and number two, that some of these plays, maybe it is time to kind of take some profits here. But meanwhile, right, it's not just Ethereum, it's the Ethereum ecosystem. I didn't pull up any for this video, but we're starting to see a lot more focus on the Ethereum layer 2s, the stablecoin chains, which is really Polygon. Polygon is the most managed it's the most micro payments that we're seeing utilizing stablecoins. And also Arbitrum, right? Because Arbitrum is what is being used by Ethereum. And so you guys know Ryan from Bankless. He said Arbitrum generates revenue in Ethereum by reselling Ethereum block space. They just passed 1,000 Ethereum via new block ordering auction system called Time Boost. Number two, Arbitrum uses Ethereum as a store of value. It's the fourth largest Ethereum treasury holding in layer 2's category. And Arbitrum provides users near Ethereum level property rights, highest ranked on the layer 2 beat. In addition to this, they've brought Robinhood into the Ethereum fold and have a powerhouse development team scaling EVM, tech, and Ethereum 1 clients. This is good for Ethereum. Ethereum is the world ledger. Ethereum, the coin, is the world reserve asset. Well, we'll have to wait and see about that. But there's a lot built on Ethereum, and I don't think that the ETH ecosystem is fully understood by many. The connections in layer 2s, I don't think are very well understood either. And this is another play that we've talked about, right? We've talked about on this channel that Arbitrum has had massive dilution since it launched effectively. And this has caused the price to go down substantially. I mean, we're literally at all-time record lows in the price of Arbitrum. And so you buying at 50 cents, you're basically getting in lower than most people who bought this coin over the last couple of years. Maybe not the insiders, but pretty much everyone else. There is still a lot of dilution to be had, right? Only 50% of the supply is released and circulating. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But we are seeing, right, the Arbitrum pump here, right? From Robinhood's announcement, it was at 26 cents. So it's basically doubled in price since the Robinhood announcement, less than 1 month previous to when I'm recording this video. And so this goes back to what we were just talking about, with, what are actionable things to do in this market. And I'm not saying just jump in, like ape in, because there's a lot of people who do ape in as soon as they hear an announcement of like, oh my God, they're going to be using Arbitrum. And then everybody apes in and then the insiders sell. But the thing with Arbitrum is there's there's very little belief, I think, from insiders that the price is not going to go much higher. Especially, again, look at the market cap, $2.5 billion market cap when I'm recording this video in the middle of 2025. Okay, look at the coins that are above the market cap of $2.5 billion that have no Wall Street usage, that are not interconnected, that have no bridges to other chains, that are not a layer two, that have no DeFi, no real development, no breakthrough technologies over the last few years, right? Think about this. One is Dogecoin, two, Cardano, Tron, Hyperliquid. This is a DEX. There's no reason that a DEX should be over 7 times the valuation of a chain like Arbitrum. Stellar is kind of on the fence about Stellar still, because I do think Stellar as a blockchain does a lot. I just don't know. It's the same thing like Ripple and XRP. Like, what is the relationship to XLM? SWI, you guys know my view on SWI. Chainlink, I think the valuation is fair. Hedera, potentially fair. Avalanche, questionable. Bitcoin Cash, definitely overvalued. Shiba Inu, overvalued. Litecoin, questionable. Toncoin, overvalued. I mean, you can see it here. But I want you to see this $2.5 billion to like $4 billion range of protocols here, right? So we'll start over here with Arbitrum, right? So you have VeChain, Render, Arbitrum, Algorand, Polygon, Internet Computer, Ondo, Aptos, and Near Protocol, basically all in the same category of the $2 to $4 billion range. And you have all these, and by the way, these protocols that I'm talking about, Near, Aptos, Ondo, Internet Computer, Polygon, Algorand, Arbitrum, VeChain, Render, like I would imagine that many of you would agree that these have real fundamentals. They have real usage, real value, real users, real programs that are built on these chains. They do have differing versions or integrations with traditional finance or other DeFi protocols, but they're all kind of in the same category. And so in my view, these should be easily in the 10 or $20 billion range, which would be a 4 to 10x from where we are. And so I'm not saying that they are all going to do this. Some may do better, some may do worse. Maybe they're all going to not perform at all, right? There's definitely that possibility. But if you really look at the disconnect here, they just basically approved crypto, right? We heard from the SEC, we heard from the Treasury, heard from the president that crypto is here to stay, and crypto has a stamp of approval from the US government. And the market cap of all of crypto is about $4 trillion, right? And if you just take the top, 3 or 4 or 5 protocols, take out the stable coins, $2.4 trillion, right? Plus Ethereum, that's $3 trillion. So that's pretty much the whole market, right? 75% of the market. But then everything just falls off a cliff here, right? And these go down to like $2 billion, which is basically nothing. I mean, Michael Saylor's doing billion-dollar buys every single week of Bitcoin. And so how is the valuation of these this low? Well, this is where I think valuation is disconnected from where the market should be. And a lot of that has to do with the inflow of money into Bitcoin. And now we're starting to see the transition into Ethereum. And again, this is unbelievable that Peter Schiff is telling people to sell their ETH, which hasn't even hit all-time record highs, and flip it into something that is literally at all-time record highs and has been at all-time record highs for the last 6 or so months. In my view, this is the counter trade. Okay, so in this video, we covered Coinbase and the risk of perpetual futures. We covered Bitcoin mining companies and the overvaluation and undervaluation. We covered Bitfarms and their AI capabilities and capacity. We covered Bitfarms doing a stock buyback, the first announced in Bitcoin, the mining space, right? Most of the Bitcoin mining companies are looking to raise money and increase the shares of their stock. And Bitfarms is doing the opposite while expanding, while growing, and pivoting also to not just Bitcoin mining, but also HPC and AI. I don't know whether I'm going to be correct on these calls or not. What I do know is that during the last cycle, when we call Core Scientific, this is the this stock, right? It was the bankrupt stock. The low was 5 cents, 5 pennies, 1 nickel, 5 cents. Now, granted, after the new shares were released, I think you got like 1 share for every 10 that you had, something like that. So that 5 cents would then correct to about 50 cents. Okay, even if it was $1 your purchase price, right? Your adjusted purchase price of Core Scientific at the bottom. Now it's at $13. That's a 1,300% gain. People were saying, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. These were the worst performing videos that I covered on this channel. And so when people come on the channel and say, Cryptoviser, you're not giving us signals, you're not telling us what to do, you're right. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm showing you what the market is telling me and my analysis of it. Now, if you agree, well, then you're probably going to do something in your portfolio. If you disagree, probably not, or do the opposite. But when I look at all of the signals here, it's very clear that the play is layer 2s. The play is Ethereum. The play is exiting Bitcoin. The play is potentially outside of the crypto space. Guys, people have made more money in the stock market this cycle from crypto products than they've made in crypto for the most part, unless you were in Solana, obviously. Solana's performed the best. But there's a lot of signals the market is telling us. Whether you listen to those signals, whether you action those signals, that's up to you. And by the way, if you think that this video is chock full of information and you appreciate all the content, make sure you guys give the video a free thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button if you want to become a channel member. Click the join button or subscribe plus button down below to become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month. A lot of you think that $1.99 is not worth this content. Guys, there's people who charge $200 per week to give you one signal in a Telegram group. I'm asking for $1.99 a month and a thumbs up on this video. And there's people who don't want to do it. They say, Cryptoviser, you haven't given us signals. And I'm like, this whole video is a signal, right? And it's not a bearish signal, because whenever there's a bear market, there's still bull market in other areas of the market. You just have to know where. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this content. See you guys in the next video. Invest responsibly, do your own research, and crypto on.